everyone and welcome to TaiyangNews. This is Anu Bhambhani, the senior editor, and I'm happy to have you all today in New Delhi at Aloft Hotel, where TaiyangNews is holding its first in-person solar technology conference. And today I have with me the NSEFI President Subrahmanyam Pulipaka, who is also known as Subu in the industry. So welcome to TaiyangNews.
Thank you.
So how is India doing?
Well, we have just registered our best year in terms of installation so far. We have done almost closer to 24 gigawatt of installed capacity in 2024-2025 financial year. So I think the last year has been really good. At the same time, we have also added a significant manufacturing capacity, both in modules and to some extent in cells. So I think we are all bullish on the future of the market in India in general. 25, 26 and 26, 27 financial years also look very promising, and we think we are going to breach the 30 gigawatt mark in the coming year in terms of installed capacity.
Yes, this year has been incredible for India. So what are the growth levers that you see for both for manufacturing and policy-wise?
I think in manufacturing, I think today the government has made it very clear, at least to begin with, in Surya the rooftop scheme, the government of India's flagship scheme on promoting rooftop, as well as KUSUM, that they have made it very clear that the domestic content requirement is there. So I think that is a good positive for the domestic manufacturing sector. In terms of the levers for policy ecosystem, in the context, I think we have a very good trajectory in terms of energy storage coming up. We have seen the new MOP guidelines on mandating a percentage of storage in new bids. A lot of traction in the state bids that we are seeing in the last 3-4 months. So I think the action will definitely now shift to states. That's a very encouraging sign. So we'll not maybe not directly face the inherent problems that we generally face when states take the ownership. And I'm also very confident that we would also be in a position to sort of institutionalize the RPO and RCO aspects. The new amendment of RCO is up for comment now, and I'm sure once implemented, it's going to sort of positively impact the sector.
Okay. Yeah. And also, when we talk about capacity, there is a lot of talk about how India may end up seeing overcapacity.
Yeah.
So how do we deal with that?
I mean, we have to look at capacity in two different sides. One, we have to see how much of the installed capacity are we able to produce in a year. That is one part. There, I think India will still need to catch up to meet our demand that we are generating in every year. Because we should be very cognizant of one fact. We measure our installed capacity in AC, and we measure our manufacturing capacity in DC. So we should be very careful of how we are talking about overcapacities. Because on an average, I have seen in our utility scale plants, the DC overloading is up to 25 to 30%. So 1 gigawatt is installed, 1.2 gigawatt, 1.3 gigawatt of DC comes online. So I think we should, I mean, it's a bigger, broader picture that needs to be taken into consideration. But I think we might be catching up, the supply might be catching up with the demand in the next 2 years. And I believe maybe somewhere between mid-27, 28, we'll be actually in a position to talk about overcapacity. In my personal understanding. I'm sure there are a lot of manufacturing units coming up in modules. We need more cells now, and there have been a lot of announcements across the spectrum, which is very encouraging. But I think we need to do a lot to catch up with the demand that we have. And overcapacity may be partially true from module side, but on cell and wafer and ingot, we are still lagging. So I think we can only be qualified to talk about overcapacity once we look at the entire value chain and then say, okay, now we are having more capacity. Let's think of what to do.
So this capacity, obviously India is a 25 gigawatt market right now. So obviously a lot of this capacity will also be exported. So where, because right now, how do you see things with the US right now, for instance?
I mean, see, I'm a strong believer of the fact that every crisis is an opportunity, and we should not let go of a good crisis. On the surface level, it might look like the current trade war or the tariff war with US might be impacting our sector. But as India emerges to be one of the global hubs of manufacturing, and when we, especially when we have more manufacturing capacity than the US themselves, I don't personally see that affecting us in the long term. In short term, maybe we might be taking some hits, but in long term, we will still be able to send some of our significant capacity back to US. But the other side of equation, where if you see our top export destinations apart from US, there are some good countries which have ambitious plans in the Middle East as well as in different parts of Africa. So I think that market is definitely opening up. I've been observing the new bids in Saudi, in UAE, in countries like Zimbabwe, South Africa. The markets are now coming to the level where India was 4-5 years back.
But aren't those markets really preferring the Chinese module still?
I mean, today they might be preferring Chinese modules, but once we have enough capacity that we can scale up, that might be an opportunity and avenue for Indian manufacturers to explore those markets. And I think there has always been this understanding from some African and Middle East nations about the trust they have in Indian products. And I also have another argument to support my point. I also see a lot of Indian, I mean, at Federation, we facilitate a lot of B2B exchange between our members and uh, our counterparts in different countries, including in Africa and some Middle East nations and sometimes in Europe. And I see a lot of Indian EPCs becoming very active on ground. And I'm definitely that'll be a good vehicle through which more Indian exports go to these countries.
So when we talk about collaboration today at TaiyangNews event,
Yeah.
you and NSEFI and also Solar Europe signed an MOU. Can
Yeah.
you tell us a little more about that?
Well, we have been working very closely with Solar Power Europe over the last 7 years now since I took over as CEO, and we've done some meaningful contributions to the sector. Uh, since last 2 years, we have understood the importance and the necessity to act on bridging the industry which is doing manufacturing in India and Europe. We came out with our report on mapping the competencies of Indian and European manufacturers. Last year, we launched it we launched it in 2023. What European companies can do, or what they're willing to do, and what Indian companies are looking for and what they need. Today's MOU is a next step in our partnership. I personally think that there is definitely an important necessity to have a bridge between our manufacturers and European manufacturers. There are a lot of European manufacturers who are looking to sort of share their knowledge, share their technology with Indian manufacturers. That is one aspect we are going to be targeting through this partnership. The second aspect of partnership that we are looking for is to see if we can have some joint ventures where we co-develop machines, co-develop products, co-develop technology in India, so that it becomes affordable not only to us but also to the European markets. The third element that we are covering in the agreement we signed in the morning is also facilitating affordable capital. Today, Europe is very positive in supporting green manufacturing across the world. We also heard from my European colleague, my counterpart from Solar Power Europe, about their Net Zero Industrial Act (NZIA), which actually can support through capital Indian manufacturing. So I think our partnership will act as a conduit to increase the velocity of investments and capital that comes to Indian market, especially in manufacturing, because that is the need of the hour that Indian manufacturers require.
Wonderful. So just last question, what is the industry expecting from the government now?
I think, I mean, I have a bigger list, but let me be very brief about what we have in terms of expectations from the government. One is we now definitely need to focus on upstream manufacturing. Vertical integration is the need of the hour. India has cracked the code on cell module to a large extent, but we need to have a dedicated focus in terms of incentives to ingot wafer and maybe polysilicon, because that is going to be our differentiating factor. So we've been already requesting our government to see if there can be some set of incentives for them.
Something on the lines of PLI or?
Something on the lines of PLI, or I mean, if it works, if we can get a capex subsidy, that will be better. Because the ecosystem, which I have always also mentioned in my inaugural speech, we need to develop the end-to-end ecosystem. We started with modules, then PLI came to support this development of the ecosystem, but we need targeted interventions at every juncture of the ecosystem. So I think the need of the hour to begin with is to support ingot, wafer and polysilicon. But there is also another requirement that we've been also pushing government of India, uh, or rather requesting them, is also to support on developing the manufacturing of machines. That is something that India should
Equipment
crack.
manufacturing.
We cannot achieve energy security by stopping our dependency on a particular country on finished goods while we are still importing machines from the same country.
Right.
I think we need to seriously look at it, and I strongly hope and believe the government uh, looks at this, and we have exceptional companies both in public sector and private sector who have the capabilities, and if the ecosystem is very good and if we are able to create a conducive environment, I'm sure India will do a quick turnaround into becoming one of the largest machine manufacturers outside China. Last but not the least, I strongly believe that we also need to look at the R&D and industrial connect to academia. As a country, India uh, has always been service oriented, uh, and R&D impact there was not much or needed or felt. But today, when we graduate to a manufacturing intensive country, we are realizing the importance of having a very steady and sort of intense cooperation between academia and industry. As NSEFI, we are going to launch our new initiative very soon to address this issue. But I personally think we need to sort of have a dedicated uh, maybe fund or some kind of incentives to promote high efficiency research that is not only funded by government but also having industry as a stakeholder and a participant in the ecosystem.
Which will also help with the skilled labor problem that we.
Yeah, skill labor problem is definitely something that we are facing now, and I think if we have to address that, we also need to have as much industry participation as government's participation. We have done exceptionally well if you look at our Surya Mitra program and other programs that the Skill Council for Green Jobs has done. They have been a role model for several developing and developed countries, in my opinion. I think it's time we replicate that in manufacturing also.
Great. Thank you for that overview. Thank you
you.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.